Hi there, Jake Robinson here with the Church of Christ Student Center in Weatherford, Oklahoma. I wanted to share with you a couple of little thoughts, and hopefully we'll get the chance to do this fairly often. But I wanted to share with you something that I read here recently. It's from Jeremiah chapter 18. I'm going to read what the text says, and then we'll talk about it a little bit more after that. Jeremiah 18, starting in verse 1, says, "This is the word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord. Go down to the potter's house, and there I will give you my message. So I went down to the potter's house, and I saw him working at the wheel. But the pot he was shaping from the clay was marred in his hands. So the potter formed it into another pot, shaping it as seemed best to him. Then the word of the Lord came to me. He said, Can I not do with you, Israel, as the potter does? Like clay in the hand of the potter, so you are in my hands." There's a few things that we need to remember, because I think this is how we act a lot of the time. And the first thing that we need to remember is that we're just the clay. And as the clay, we have absolutely no say in what the potter is forming us into. Isaiah 45, chapter 45, verse 9, it says, "Does the clay say to the potter, what are you making?" And also in Isaiah 29, verse 16, it says, "You turn things upside down." This is God speaking here. It says, "You turn things upside down, as if the potter were thought to be like the clay. Shall what is formed say to the one who formed it, You did not make me? Can the pot say to the potter, You know nothing?" See, we act like that a lot of times. We oftentimes think that we have a better idea for our lives, a better path for our lives, and we can shape our lives better than maybe what God can. Second thing we need to remember is that God is a master craftsman. He's the master potter in this picture. And as the master potter, anything that the master potter makes is perfect. And see, as he forms and he shapes us, we are his perfect creation. Matter of fact, Ephesians 2:10 tells us that we are God's handiwork. I think that's something that we need to remember often, that we are God's masterpieces. Third thing we need to remember is that as the potter, God has the right to form us into the vessels that he wants us to be for his use. Continuing on with what Ephesians 2, chapter 2, verse 10 says, it says, "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus for a specific reason, and that's to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." So this week I want you to remember that you're just clay. And as clay, you have no right and no say in what the master craftsman is making you into. Also remember that God is the master craftsman, and that he's going to form you, and he wants to form you into his perfect creation. And not only that, but that he wants to then use you. Remember that this week.